Hi everyone, my name is Andrea Lee and this is my revision plan for Assignment 5 in AEP 867. So some background information, quick recap, these are my objectives. So I have a 5-day instructional unit, and on the first day the students are going to make a resume header. Next day, education section, then experience section. On day 4, Thursday, they're going to create the skills and certificates, activities, and military service sections of their resume. And on day 5, Friday, the students are going to examine other students' resumes and give critical feedback, and also differentiate between standard US resumes and K-Move resumes. Some of the content is different. Korean resumes include personal information and photos, so they need to determine what Americans include on standard resumes and what is included on the K-Move resume or Korean resumes. So, do the tasks yield appropriate evidence of the identified understandings? So the tasks focus on completing one or a few sections of the K-Move resume each day, very systematic in how it's organized. And the students are also going to see sample resumes to make sure that they are properly creating their resume. They are also going to give feedback on Monday night as a homework assignment on a former student's first draft. So they're going to look at the process from start to finish, and also they'll be able to realize that it's not so easy to put a resume together. It's a time-consuming process that needs to be done systematically. And at the end of the week, on Friday, students are going to give peer feedback to their classmates to ensure proper understanding, and also students are going to use a checklist for each section of the resume as they're writing it. I will also give feedback to students to make sure that they understand the steps of the K-Move resume writing process. So overall, I would say that the tasks yield appropriate evidence of the identified understandings, but I may need to give more specific directions to the students. My students are not native English speakers, and sometimes they struggle if directions are a little vague or unclear to them. So I need to make sure that I clarify the directions and include very specific rubrics and checklists as they are making their resumes and giving feedback to others. So are students given the opportunity to self-assess and reflect upon their learning and performance? So of course the students are going to check, evaluate their own resume, and they're also going to give peer feedback. And at the end of the week, I'm going to be checking their resumes as well. And if the students don't finish their resume in week 1, and I don't expect that most of them will, we're going to keep working on it independently as a homework assignment through the Google Classroom or email until I'm satisfied and the students are satisfied. I'm also really going to emphasize to students that their resume is not complete until the day they retired. So, throughout life, they're going to have to think about the content that's going to be included on their resume and make the necessary changes. So it's obviously a lifelong process that they're going to have to be thinking about as they move on in their careers. I should also consider including some reflection time in each lesson so students can think more about what kind of content to include, maybe give them a little more time to review other resumes so they can think a little more clearly about writing an effective resume that's going to help them to get a job. So, are a variety of appropriate assessment formats used to provide additional evidence of learning? So I have a true-false quiz presently comparing the standard K-Move resume and general US resumes. And then, of course, the students are going to evaluate their own resumes and give feedback to peers. There's going to be a checklist when they're making their own resumes and finishing each section. And then when they're looking at completed resumes, they're going to use a specific rubric. Okay? Something else I could consider, though, to make this process a little more effective, I could have several American friends or colleagues assess the resumes or give critical feedback, especially if my friends are working in similar industries that my students are interested in. I could also consider having former K-Move students who have been in their shoes to give some better feedback to the students as well. And finally, do the tasks involve a complex real-world application of the identified knowledge, skill, and understanding? So, of course, making a resume is very beneficial and practical. They need it to be able to get a job in the US. It is a very complex process, even for native speakers. I've struggled immensely writing a resume in my own language, so it's going to be difficult for my students too, I'm sure. And once again, I would like to have some American friends or colleagues give relevant feedback to make it more practical for the students. And also the process can be subjective. Students have to really carefully examine their industry to know if they're making their resume appropriately. Thank you.